Welcome to the Beat Sessions, your place for all things music. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's talk about Lorde and her record Virgin. She released that on June 27th. This is the fourth studio album for the New Zealand pop star and her follow-up to 2021's Solar Power, which should have been called Lunar Power since she mooned us all. Joking aside though, all you need to do is look at the respective cover of both albums to know that when you drop the needle on those records, you are in for a vastly different experience. The cover of Solar Power here is arguably way more racy, but there's this carefree playfulness that dominates the feel of this record, and it makes the image feel appropriate. And I would say that I think that this is a record that is fairly enjoyable, but the breezy acoustic arrangements that inhabit this tropical rock feel seem to lose many of her fans. And admittedly, it does feel like Lorde was maybe listening to too much Jimmy Buffett at the time of this record's creation. The cover of Virgin, however, signals something very different. It's the transparency of this image that is an immediate cue before you even drop the needle that Lorde has returned to deliver that signature introspection that makes her so relatable, that makes her so transparent. That is her, by the way. And all of this despite being one of the most famous women in the world. And it's one of the many factors that make this record a welcome return for her. I love the big move that she makes to start this thing off. Choosing to work with Jimmy Stack on this record, shifting gears, after working with Jack Antonoff on her last two albums. I applaud this move. I think as much as I admire Jack and his body of work, that the whole of music does begin to suffer with the ubiquity of just one person's influence. I feel like songwriter Amy Allen is another great example of what I'm talking about. Great songwriter, but a lot of stuff starts to sound the same. Jim helped Lorde co-write all but one track here on this record, and I feel that he was a fantastic force in helping her return to the strength of the electronically driven, minimalist beginnings of Pure Heroin. These tracks play off light-bodied, slow builds that successfully find the right moments to explore unsettling textures. It's a great dynamic here. Album opener Hammer exemplifies this immediately from the start. I love that immediate sense of urgency that this record opens up with. This dynamic captures the hushed restraint of this album, a perfect complement to the signature sound of her voice. But when the beats do hit, there's this visceral knotting in your guts that keeps you coming back for the twists and turns and inversions of your favorite roller coaster. They carry great weight when they surface through the gorgeous layers of synths that develop through most of these tracks. And I think that both of these elements ultimately benefit from not enduring the maximalist approach of a record like Melodrama, of the influence of a guy like Jack Antonoff. I will say that I think this album could have benefited from a few moments where the music just accelerates through the wall, particularly on tracks like Hammer and Closer David. But I would say that to counter that, wanting more is ultimately, I think, is what is going to keep the listener coming back for more. What is going to keep all of us playing this record over and over and over again. Virgin also feels like a big return to form from a lyrical standpoint as well. I think one of Lorde's strengths is distilling her personal anguish into vivid imagery that the average listener can relate to. She cites musicians such as Billie Holiday, Sam Cooke, Etta James, and Otis Redding as influences on her music and their ability to harvest their suffering. And Virgin is a record that finds her embracing this once again instead of wallowing in the esoteric pain of fame. And despite wanting to hear her explode at times, one of the strengths of this record is the way the combination of lyrics and music capture her maturity. I think many of these tracks build like she's getting ready to just pop off, but instead she ultimately just takes a deep breath and delivers a composed rebuttal. Solar Power feels like a record that was seeking freedom and escape at a time when she didn't feel that confident as an artist and a person. I would say that Virgin is a record that confidently finds freedom in facing life's difficulties head on with a lot of zest as well. This album opens up with your first track, Hammer. It's going to come in with this ominous synths that build tension immediately as they flutter around with this panning effect. It sounds great in the headphones. Vocals hit along with the soft, wavy synth that works in the backdrop in serene fashion, creating that really nice contrast that I was mentioning. Another sci-fi like synth flutters around to usher a simple spaced out staccato style piano, and then the vocals build with intensity to lead into the drop, so to speak, on this track. There is this EDM feel, but it's not quite there. It's more of a homage to it. There's this propulsive rhythmic synth and fuzzy bass drum, electronic percussion that takes over in the second verse. And then the texture backs off, but there comes back with more of this intensity like the rest of the track. The beat finally finds its feet in the coda for a brief rapturous moment before cutting off. I feel like that's kind of a common theme on this record. And leading into your second track, What Was That? Get this pulsating synth that opens briefly before vocals and a soft touch of bass go to work. Then you get a soft bit of acoustic guitar that joins along with that bass. Vocals go big with some double tracking as all the music fades, except for that little bit of bass. And then the synths work back in for the track's title-based hook and chorus, and I really just like this moment as well. It builds over a few lines of retrospective storytelling before the song's gentle electronic structure takes hold. There's a unique synth that it kind of sounds like a clarinet, like a woodwind instrument with effects and playful layers of percussion that continue to develop. It's breezy, but while also carrying some intensity, and it's really catchy. Feels like a good combination of a lot of what she's done prior to this record. Your third track, Shapeshifter, has got this lo-fi breakbeat percussion that ushers in a spoken word vocal. Got a soft synth that works in, swimming in the backdrop while she does this. And the track, it has this very hazy and seductive atmosphere that pairs well with those lyrics. Vocal shifts suddenly to this weightless, beautiful melody and the harmonies to back it up. Another layer of synths that drone in the backdrop and drop suddenly with that second verse. There's a great little bridge where she sings "Tonight I Just Want to Fall" with staccato strings that go to work as well. It's just a really nice moment on this song. The momentum of the track continues to build beautifully behind those strings, soaring vocals, and driving beat. I really like pretty sure it's just her vocals that she's playing with all this double tracking, but I love the harmonies. Your fourth track, Man of the Year, opens with a gently walking bass line, followed shortly by her vocals. I love the soulful jazz feel of it. A bit of guitar soon works in to complement this track, and her vocals begin in a restrained fashion, kind of true to form on this record, but work to soaring heights on this track. I appreciate that the arrangement stays minimal for as long as it does, and then a big fuzzy synth plays in around the halfway point to usher in a seismic shift towards this contemporary kind of EDM feel in the track to finish it off. Your fifth track, Favorite Daughter, is probably one of my favorites. You get a light droning synth that fades in on this jaunty up-tempo percussion. I really love the momentum of this song. Lorde delivers a hushed vocal as a bit of bass works in with other intermittent electronic elements. I just love the rapidly undulating synth that picks up the chorus with the bright melodies that are there. Second verse follows a similar build with that signature synth working in just a few bars earlier than it did on the first go around. The song's bridge hits somewhat minimal territory, kind of stalling the momentum of the track, but it's a nice little touch, and then it builds back to finish strong. I really like that shift and then the way that this song finishes. Your sixth song is entitled Current Affairs. You got this simple one-note kind of dueling guitar element that opens with a bit of bass drum that follows in shortly after, along with some electric rhythm guitar as well. I like the shift to indie rock feel on this particular track. The production is going to boost the presence of that rhythm guitar. It's a nice move on the track. There's swells of soft synths and a call and response with an electronic vocal that takes hold in the chorus. Those electronic vocals continue to evolve into different roles throughout the track, with a third working in. And as I said, I'm pretty sure that this is her just playing with voice modulation, but I think it's really well done, and I like the different changes that you hear. The track stays restrained through its build, but does find more energy in the coda Despite really, I would say, for the most part, staying pretty mellow from start to finish. Your seventh track, Clear Blue. This one is a stunner. It opens with this a cappella double tracked vocal, and that's just what it does. Additional vocal harmonies work in at about halfway through the track to bring this thing to life a little more, but it is a daring, bold moment right smack dab in the middle of the record, and it genuinely showcases the strength of her voice. This is just a brilliant move, and I love it. Your eighth track, GRWM, Grown Woman. Vocals and light organ style synths open, with the synth taking a turn to more of a bass-like quality. And then additional synths work in. There's one that drones and a second that twinkles before taking a hard shift into this minimal EDM production that's pretty in your face. It's one of those jarring moments on the record. The track shifts to a combination of both what you felt in the opening and then in that kind of like seismic shift there, but it does stay delicate. Subtle production differences highlight the turn into the final chorus before it goes big in the coda. I really just like the movement of this track and ultimately the way the two elements find some synchronicity. Broken Glass is your ninth track. You get this tin-like synth that opens in front of this propulsive bass drum. Another synth with a playful bounce and a sci-fi quality works in with the vocals. Simple bass and droning textures build in shortly after to usher in a chorus with bright contrasting melodies and additional electronic elements that really complement her voice. This is a track that it honestly kind of made me feel kind of a Tom York vibe to a certain degree a bit. Second verse restarts the build towards that bright chorus. There's a brief minimal bridge that ushers in the energetic coda to finish this thing out, leading into your penultimate track, If She Could See Me Now. Another highlight for me, you get this jarring staccato synth with laser qualities that go to work immediately with her vocals. The bass textures build in behind the synths before she drops out. She drops a little shout out to Baby Bash and Frankie J with Sugar Sugar on this. I really like it. The beat hits to work with the second verse while the bass riff develops a bit more through the song. The chorus takes a turn into brighter territory with shimmering textures. This track really does capture a solid R&B drive. Numerous feels, I would say, over the last 3 decades. It's a really nice in its eclectic R&B approach. And then your final track, your 11th number, is entitled David. Opens with a soft droning fade and that begins to undulate a little bit. Vulnerable vocal enters to enhance the ethereal feel of this track. Great contrast on this one too. Soaring double track on the vocals and then this fuzzy, ominous synth is going to kickstart the chorus as other flickering synth elements build in. I love the line, pure heroine mistaken for featherweight, kind of calling back to her and to other people throughout this record. And this line, the tension builds irresistibly from this moment. There's this icy synth that gives this track this eerie feel as it builds towards a just chaotic crescendo. The music drops to a few simple elements, allowing her vocals to seal the show. The finish on this one, pretty intense way to finish off the record. It did leave me wanting more, but again, I acknowledge that as far as the overall feel and effect of this record, it's important that that track and many others have that build and finish the way that they do. I applaud her for this effort. I think that there's a lot here that, like I said, there's changes that I would have maybe liked to see, but I think that goes along with developing this new relationship with Jimmy Stack, who apparently is a romantic partner at this point as well now too. But I think part of this is navigating this new terrain and just getting her back to the zone where, I don't want to call it a comfort zone, but I think it's a zone where she thrives. Again, I think it's a zone where she is more personable. She's more relatable to her audience, that vulnerability in the midst of that just very vivid storytelling. Like, I love the way that she can put you right in a moment and just make you see it and feel it. And it's a brilliant part of her art from day one. This is a really nice comeback record for her, and I'm going to give this thing a 7.9 out of 10. Hope you enjoy this record. I hope you find this review helpful as well. We're going to vinyl please this thing also. I encourage all of you to go by your local record store and pick it up. Some different colored packages, I think, that are available on this one. But please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, do all the things to help me blow this project up in 2025, and stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews. We'll see you next time on the Beat Sessions.